Ralph Smedley, How Toastmasters Began. What do you do when you are bored? Scroll through social media? Binge watch TV series? View sports, movies? Read a book? Listen to music? Chat on the phone? To tell how Ralph Smedley dealt with his boredom, which resulted in Toastmasters, let's travel in my way back machine, a time before cell phones, personal computers, calculators, record players, TVs, movies, and before radios and telephones were common in households. Back to the early 1900s. Most people didn't own cars, and if you lived in a town, it was difficult to borrow a book because most public libraries were in cities. Imagine you lived in 1900 and decided to leave your family farm to make your fortune at a factory in a nearby town. What would you do to entertain yourself with no phone, TV, radio, or book? If you were a typical young man, only two B's, the two B's, would be available to you. Bars and brothels. Imagine you didn't want to take part in the two B's. What would you do? The Young Men's Christian Organization, otherwise known as the YMCA, or nowadays simply the Y, was created during the Industrial Revolution just for young men in this situation. It provided education, service activities, and sports for those who wanted to avoid the two B's of bars and brothels. Did you know that during this time, the Y invented basketball and volleyball? In addition to having the normal sports of just building your muscles and boxing, and they even had swimming. The Y was so popular during this time that most young men in towns were members. Enter Ralph Smedley. In 1903, a fresh graduate of Illinois Wesleyan University in Bloomington, Illinois, married in 1904. He quickly landed the coveted job as educational director at the popular Bloomington, Illinois YMCA. He immediately saw the need to train young men to speak. He and his boss realized it had to not seem like school, but be a weekly social club with short speeches, debates, and chairmanship. To make it more attractive, his boss came up with the name Toastmasters. From the first meeting of March of 1905, it contained criticism, which evolved into the evaluations we have in Toastmasters today. Mr. Smedley developed the procedures of the meeting on the fly. From the beginning, the roles were rotated. The young men gave 5 to 6 minute speeches, and criticisms were given by older men. Immediately, Mr. Smedley and other members noted improvement in both their speaking and leading abilities. The YMCA noticed Mr. Smedley's improved leadership abilities as well, and in 1906 appointed him to head the Y in Freeport, Illinois. He helped start adult education at the Y, a brand new concept at the time. He thought of offering a Toastmasters club in Freeport for the younger men, but the older men wanted it for themselves. Lawyers, doctors, salesmen, merchants joined. Mr. Smedley noticed that the older men benefited from the program as much as the younger men had in Bloomington. The club had 50 members, with auditors, those merely listening, benefiting as much as the participants. Mr. Smedley realized that those men who could speak well were better able to lead. His leadership had risen to the point that 3 years later, Mr. Smedley was asked to revive the struggling Y at Rock Island, Illinois. He started a Toastmasters club there as well, and it had 75 members within a year. Within that same year, the former Freeport Toastmasters Club floundered due to lack of enthusiasm of the new head of the Y. The same thing happened to the Rock Island Toastmasters Club after Mr. Smedley left. Then World War II stopped most education of any kind in the United States. Mr. Smedley's leadership was further rewarded when he was given the position of leading the YMCA in San Jose, California at the end of the war in 1919. He started a successful club there, but it also failed after he left in 1922. He moved to Santa Ana, California to head the YMCA. He introduced the idea of Toastmasters in 1924. He started a club in October with 24 men. It was so successful that they created a constitution. That constitution is very similar to the framework that Toastmasters has today. In 1925, a man from nearby Anaheim visited. He was so impressed by the Santa Ana Club that he decided to form a Toastmasters Club in Anaheim in early 1926. That club became Charter Club number 2, the Santa Ana Club being number 1. Those 2 clubs inspired people in Los Angeles and beyond to form clubs. Women started their own chapters under the name Toasties, which eventually led to the Toastmasters clubs. By 1930, Mr. Smedley copyrighted the Toastmaster name and published the first Toastmaster magazine. Thus, Toastmasters was officially launched. Even though we had to go to the Wayback Machine, to a time before all the modern entertainment devices relieved boredom, to visit the humble beginnings of Toastmasters, Toastmasters is as important today as it was then. As Mr. Smedley noted, when we improve our confidence and ability in public speaking, we become more capable leaders. It happened then, and it is still happening now. But it's not all about becoming better speakers and leaders. Ralph Smedley wanted us to have fun while we were improving. He said, "We learn best in moments of enjoyment." And let us also remember that he wanted us to spread the wealth of what we've learned, as we hear in his final quote, "Let us share the benefits we gain for ourselves with others."